Hi everyone. Today I've got another very nice piece to show you. This is a Shirogorov TiHatium, as you can see from this coin. This was made for the TKI show in 2022, and this is one of the first knives, not the first, but one of the first to have, the patented PLDS 2.0 system, which is a special pivot system that Sergey came up with, and then of course his double row roller bearing system, which is well known in his customs, um, and there's one other special thing that's not listed here, and I'm going to show you that right now. Oh yeah, this is a new, very thin Shirogorov, and for a long time I've really been a fan of lightweight knives, thin knives especially, and I think thin knives and thin blades always cut better than thicker blades. They might not be as strong, but for EDC purposes, I don't need my needs aren't. I don't need something to be like super ultra strong. I just need it to slice things very well, and it's not. It doesn't have to be so light it's fragile, but when it's thin like this, it cuts very well. I believe this is a 0.14 inch blade stock thickness. Not entirely sure, but that's my estimation. And let's check out the knife. This is a Damasteel version. There's actually two of these. One which is went for an auction at the show, and one which was sold, I guess, more privately. But there are only two in this configuration. And man, what an incredible knife. I've handled a lot of Shirogorovs, but I've got to say that this piece flips a lot harder than the rest of them. And I'm thinking it's because the blade is so much lighter, but the D10 is still just as strong. So you get, a very strong launch on the action, and you can feel it recoil a little bit, and that's just so cool. I think it's so cool. The blade shape here is, the classic Shirogorov blade shape, which is very nice. The pivot also done in Damasteel, with two finishes where the flats is more satin, and then you got the etched, parts on the flats. Very well done. You can see the milling lines. Each of them, stop, and then a new one starts. And I can imagine that this is not the easiest thing to do. And when you do these types of tooling, cutting, I think it's got to be pretty hard to, get it perfectly, in this pattern. You can kind of see almost like a line here, and a line going through. I just think that's very nice. The finish on the frame is also lovely. Backspacer, you can see how much thinner than it is compared to the older versions, and it's stepped. Very nicely done. Pocket clip, and the pivot. I think again this is one of the first ones to have a larger pivot ring on the lock side. Normally, yeah, I don't think he Shirogorovs do pivot rings that much, but this is like the big one, and I think this was something that got people very excited at the show. But I think the main thing to get excited about is the PLDS, which essentially, makes this pivot assembly one piece. So it's a really strong assembly, which means it's going to be, side to side play. There's going to be none of that, and it's supposed to add a lot of lateral strength to the blade. So if you push it, I'm not really pushing it hard, but I'm just showing, this direction or this direction. It's supposed to be a lot more stable than regular knives, and I think it's very cool because you kind of have this, on the one hand, very thin and lightweight, and then on the other hand, a very strong PLDS 2.0 system, plus the roller bearings, which, if you've done any research on Shirogorov, they do actually test out, how strong the pivot is, because on any knife, the pivot, or any folding knife, the pivot is, the weak point, essentially. So this is something that, two inventions which address this issue, and it makes the folding knife even stronger. And I really appreciate that. And I think the knives are, this piece is done really perfectly well. I mean, talk about precision, build. It may be a frame lock, which is not like super fancy, but I think the work, if you ask someone to do a CNC, this machining pattern, to get this type of precision, where you have 0 stick on the lock release, it's like super smooth on the close. It's just a very, very well machined piece of artwork and tool. I think a lot of people do love Shirogorovs because a lot of them are machinists, and they know how difficult it is to do something like this. So yeah, this is just a short overview or look at the Shirogorov TiHatium. What a cool piece. Hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.